All right, well, it is 6 o'clock, so I'll call to order. Welcome to order. I guess a pledge unless you've got a flag hand. I don't. All right. Did everyone have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Does anyone have any comments?
Move for approval.
So Jack moves we approve it. Does anyone
I'll
second that?
second.
All right,
And
all in favor? Aye.
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 Awesome. Auditor's report.
We're still doing very good. Are there any questions on it? Pretty straightforward. Hearing none, I will move it.
All right, can I?
You want a second? I'll second. And
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Unpaid bills, the grant fund is $9,210.45. Any questions on the grant fund?
Now, did you include the bill, the new bills?
This
Yes.
is
I got the unpaid bills separately.
Yeah, that was the new.
9210. Yeah.
Okay.
921045. Yeah.
All right.
I have one question on the other side. What is Smart Shield license annual? 1,069. What does that mean?
Smart Shield is a program we use on the computers.
Oh, okay.
It's like a security.
Oh, good. And the other question was down the bookmobile, BKM, parts and maintenance. I see it. Okay, I got that. That's it. That's all I had a question about.
Okay.
I moved the unpaid bills for the grant fund.
Grant fund is done. General fund is 26,838.60, I think. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, can I get someone to move it?
I move it. And
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the bills are approved in the amounts stated. Oh, any opposed? The
No.
bills are approved in the amounts stated. I move that we have Ron sign for them.
oh,
They're stupid.
yep.
Uh,
You're breaking up a little, Rachel. What did you
that
say?
we have Ron sign for the bills. We're able to be there. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Okay, Jack seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. All right. Oh, auditor's report. Did everyone have a chance to look at the auditor's report?
Wow, took me a while today.
Did anyone actually understand the contents of the report, or was that just me feeling stupid?
I had a few questions because it wasn't worded quite the same as the past, and I've got to reach for it here.
Okay. Are the auditors here so we
Yeah.
can ask?
Yeah.
Kat
Oh.
Stickler,
Oh,
Jenna.
Jenna? Okay. Is Kathy there?
Yep.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
That's what I need, a short haircut.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, there was this, it seemed to be worded a little differently, and I'm looking for, I had it opened up. Oh, this page of corrected misstatements. What does that mean? It was something that was wrong on our paperwork, and you asked for an accounting of it, or what?
Yep. We actually have a plan to kind of go through that, at least the report to the Board of Trustees, and we'll be covering that particular section. But yes.
Oh, you're going to do it. Oh,
The
okay.
terminology is corrected misstatements. It used to be called years ago used to be called audit adjustments. So yeah, they were adjustments we made to your 1231 data for them to be correctly stated.
Okay,
I
so
think
you're
that
gonna,
Jen was gonna look at that a little bit more and maybe describe some of them.
okay, I didn't know you were gonna cover all that. That's good.
No, that's okay. If you want us to, I mean, if you want us to just be here for questions that you've already looked at, that's up to you guys.
I would prefer it in order just so that I can get a better understanding of what this document was about. And then if questions, we can come back to them. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, thank you. These are, if you remember, 12/31/19. So we were saying when we first came on, we were early on pushing it off, hoping we'd be able to meet in person, but didn't want to extend any longer. So here we are. Keeping in mind these are a while ago, 12/31/19. 990. Well, I think it was sent out to you. That did have a filing deadline of November 15th, so that was filed. Certainly, if you see changes or issues with it, can be amended, but we did need to get it filed so that you wouldn't have penalties on it. But I think that Jenna, who's the manager on the engagement, she's going to look at the first part of the reports. So I'll let her take it away.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jenna Rapasardi. I work with Kathy at MMB. I've been working on the Library District's audit for several years now. So I'm going to focus on some of the key highlights at the beginning of the report to the board. A lot of the terminology is relatively consistent with the wording from the letter that we would have gone over with you as part of last year's audit. So I'm going to focus on key points and any changes from last year. But if you have any other questions as we're going through, feel free to jump in. I'd be more than happy to answer them. So I'm going to start with page 3 of the board packet. This letter is what begins what we call our required communications letter. So as the name suggests, there are items that we're required to communicate to you at the conclusion of our audit, and those are encompassed in this letter. The main thing I wanted to reiterate on this page is just verifying again that our responsibility as auditors is to issue an opinion on whether the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. And while we did consider internal controls of the library district in designing some of our audit procedures, we're not issuing an opinion on the quality or effectiveness of those controls. However, we will talk a little bit later about some items one item that we did know as part of our audit that we've communicated with you in the past as well.
Okay.
Jenna, could I just interrupt you again? We failed to ask, we are able to share screen and kind of show you what page we're on if you want us to.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody has it in front of them or if that would be helpful. Just let us know.
I have it, but others may not. I don't know.
I have no objection to sharing this, to doing it.
Can you try to do that, Jenna?
Sure, just give me 1 second while I get it set up here. Might take me a minute.
All right.
It says the host disabled participant screen sharing, so I'm not sure who the host is or.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Oh,
I just made you a co-host.
Oh, cool.
See if that works, okay?
Oh, it looks promising. Okay, does everyone see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Is it big enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I just went over this portion of the letter. Again, some of those highlights, not going to read through every sentence on here.
yeah.
We also conducted the audit in accordance with the timing and scope that we had previously agreed upon. And then to the next page, we were independent to complete the audit. We were not considered independent. We would not be able to perform an audit and issue an opinion, but we did comply with those requirements. Next section here under significant accounting policies directs you to Note A to the financial statements, where those are go into more detail as far as what accounting policies are utilized in the financial statements for the library district. But more importantly, there's been no changes in accounting policies in 2019. If there were, we would reiterate that in this letter.
Okay.
We had no significant difficulties completing the audit, and I know, we really appreciate Ron and Holly's help getting through the audit as always. The people interacting with us are great at getting us the information we need, so we really appreciated that. The portion discusses under this uncorrected and corrected misstatements heading, we're required to communicate to you items that we identify during the audit that are potential adjustments that we could make, as well as those that we did make to the financial statements. So like someone had asked a minute ago, we'll go through the corrected misstatements or the adjustments that were made as part of the audit and are therefore reflected in the financial statement numbers that we'll go over in a minute. But we're also required to communicate to you any items or misstatements that we identified that are not recorded and reflected in the financial statements. So this sentence here talks about how we did notice that we could have recorded in another $11,000 for accrued salaries and taxes. These represent hours or earnings that were earned by employees the last few days in December that were paid in January, but we did not book this audit adjustment similar with how we've done that last year, but are required to communicate that to you. So the next page discusses those corrected misstatements. So these are adjustments that were made subsequent to the trial balance information provided to us and are reflected in the numbers that we'll go over in a minute. So a lot of these adjustments are ones that we make each year as part of our audit. The first being some adjustments to record pension liability and activity for the year. This is based on information that we get from the New York State Retirement Systems Actuary and calculate what the library district's portion of that liability is. So these are estimates and numbers done by an actuary who's a professional and a specialist, and the net effect of this adjustment is $21,000 decrease to net income at the end of the year. Again, it's an estimate. We don't book it. We book it as part of our audit, but and we'll continue to do so. It's just one of those numbers that's an estimate. The next adjustment is to record accrued payroll. So this is hours worked by employees and earnings from December 15th through December 28th of 2019 that wasn't paid until the beginning of January of 2020. So this is to recognize that those expenses were incurred by the library district through December 31st. So you can see the net effect to net income is about $68,000 decrease. And then we also reversed that same adjustment that we made, or a similar adjustment we made last year to the accrued retirement account. That's about $57,000. So those two mostly offset. The next two adjustments are to record the current year accounts payable amount. So this is for goods or services received by the library district through December 31st that weren't paid until January of 2020. And this adjustment was identified by Holly. Holly gave us the information for this entry. We just booked it, so recorded it for you. And then the entry above it is to reverse that same entry that we did last year. So the net effect of those two is about $30,000 decrease to net income. The next is to capitalize fixed assets, mainly the Teen Space project that was completed, I believe, in June of 2019. So this is to record that that asset was completed this year, along with some other small items, and remove that from expense where it previously was. So this actually increased the bottom line about $337,000. But then that next entry, that's to record depreciation on those assets as well as other ones that you've currently had. And that was a reduction of about $228,000. And again, all of the adjustments that I've mentioned thus far are ones that we make for you each year, so nothing new. And then the very last one is to recognize grant revenue on some of those New York State construction grant funds that you received last year. So this is, again, funds received last year for the Teen Space project. Because that project was completed in 2019, we're able to recognize that revenue now. So that brings up the net income by about $182,000. So if we take all of these adjustments into account, the difference between net income from the trial balance information given to us for the audit and the final numbers that we'll see in the financial statements is to bring up net income about $226,000. Did that help answer some of those questions that some of you may have
Yeah.
had on these adjustments?
Yes.
If we had had any disagreements with management completing the audit, or if there were any other significant audit matters that we would want to communicate to you, those would be included in this letter, but we did not have any of those items. So a lot of insurance page or so. One thing I did want to point out in this letter, and we'll get into it more in a few minutes, is that this does reiterate that we did modify our audit opinion, and we have for the last several years, because the library district has determined from a cost benefit standpoint not to have an actuary come in and calculate a post-retirement benefit. So those amounts have not been calculated or disclosed in the financial statements, and therefore our audit opinion is modified. And we've been, and the board's been comfortable with that in the past. So that's it for this letter. Any questions before I go on to the next one in this packet? And if you want faster, feel free to let me know, or slower. You guys tell me what you'd like.
It's fine.
Okay. This next letter in the packet is in defining what a material weakness in internal control is, and just reiterating that there were no material weaknesses in internal controls at the library district that we just identified during the audit. Again, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, while we did test internal controls at the library district, if we did find some things that we felt were significant in internal controls, we would have to communicate to you. But from a material weakness standpoint, nothing to report. However, if we do go to the next page in this packet, this defines what a significant deficiency in internal control is. So a little less severe than a material weakness, but still sufficient enough to bring to your attention is that because of the large dollar amount of some of those audit adjustments that I mentioned a minute ago, those are resulting from the library district accounting office recording income and expense based on the cash basis throughout the year. And then these audit adjustments that we're making as part of our audit is to convert those numbers that were given from the cash basis to the accrual basis, which is what we need to report in the financial statements. So because of the severity and large dollar amount of those audit adjustments, we did want to bring this to your attention. And, maybe something that is considered going forward, maybe now that Holly's been here a little while and is more familiar with operations at the library district, if some of these audit adjustments you would like to make before we perform the audit, obviously you guys more than able to do so. One of those adjustments, like I mentioned, Holly gave us the information to do that. All we did was take the information and record the entry on our end. So not significant enough to be considered a material weakness, but still considered a significant deficiency that we wanted to communicate to. Any questions?
Thanks, Jenna. We'll talk about the actual audited financial statements now. The summary of what Jenna did was the summary, kind of the results of the audit. So I'm going to go through this maybe a little bit quicker. There's a lot of pages. I'm not going to cover every page, but if there's something that you saw when you were reviewing it previously, either stop me or can ask me at the end. So if we move to page 3 and 4, as Jenna mentioned before, so this is our independent auditors report. And the first part of it, as Jenna mentioned, talks about the auditor's responsibility versus management's responsibility that Jenna alluded to a little bit earlier. And then on page 4, had mentioned that we have the second full paragraph there that we do issue a qualified opinion. So our opinion, except for the effects on the financial statements related to not accruing those liability related to the actuarial determined post-retirement benefits that's related to the sick time generally that people accrue, that would technically they receive them, after they retire, and so technically accounting standards would require you to have an actuarial calculation of what your liability is as of 12/31. You determine the cost to benefit of that is not enough. Have not reported that, but that means that we issue a qualified opinion. So we're saying except for the effect of that, the other items are materially fairly stated in all material respects. We move on to page 5. So if you remember from a few years ago, it was determined, these weren't the way the financial statements were maybe even 5 years ago, but was determined that you are considered a governmental entity. Even though you're a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, you are considered a governmental entity. The state approved you as a library district, and you're able to levy taxes and other matters that have you be a governmental entity. So the report is a little bit different than what you might see if you're sitting on boards of other not-for-profits. So the first part of it is a required management's discussion and analysis. I'm going to focus kind of on this area a little bit, as it kind of gives a high-level synopsis of what you see in the financial statements. So in the condensed financial information version, for example, kind of gives you just a high-level view. You can see total assets this year. First subtotal is $7,167,000 as compared to $7,108,000, so not a significant change from one year to the next. The deferred outflows of resources, and then down a little bit from there, deferred inflows of resources. Those are very technical definitions or line items that standards require us to put as it relates to some of the pension liabilities. So you do get an actuarial calculation done at New York State level, retirement system level, and there's information in that needs to be recorded and displayed. These are unusual words, I realize, but are required words, and all relate to that actuarial calculation that is done. So that's the deferred outflows and deferred inflows. And the fluctuations between years are all going to depend on kind of where market discount interest rates are. That's a big difference that impacts from one year to another, as well as what the total investments are doing at the retirement system, statewide retirement systems. This is just your share, as well as what's happening with your retirees and how many you have, and whether there's what their assumptions are related to their longevity and that sort of thing. So we're just taking the numbers from the state's actuary, and we are not actuaries, so we can't answer all the questions as to why, but certainly are going to fluctuate up and down depending on what's happening in the market and what would happen with the discount rate. Then you can see total liabilities, $631,000 this year as compared to $654,000 last year. So again, not a significant difference in total. There is a change, kind of a flip-flop between other liabilities and long-term liabilities. So talking about that a little bit in the other liability section, last year, included in there was deferred revenue related to that teen grants, where you had received the revenue, received the cash, but weren't yet able to record the revenue because you hadn't completed the project. So that was in the liability or deferred revenue at 2018 and removed in 2019, as Jenna mentioned earlier. And then the long-term liabilities, really the change in there also relates to some items related to the pension plan. And then down in net position, you can see the total net position, $6,819,000 this year as compared to $6,589,000 the year before. Really related to your net income or your net profit for the year. So that's just the high level of the balance sheet, if you will. On the next page is the high level of the income statement. You can see revenues, total revenue, $3,851,000 is compared to $3,819,000. So not a significant change overall. Other revenues, you can see what property tax income, that you know. Other revenues includes contributions and grants, and just as a reflection of, you know, what grants or contributions you get in each year. In 2018, you had some revenue related to Chiller project as well, some revenue related to Teen Space, and then remaining Teen Space revenue in 2019. So just, you know, pluses and minuses depending on what kinds of, primarily what kind of construction grants you have going on. And then in the expense area, total expense $3,629,000 is compared to $3,385,000. That's almost a 7% increase, which is predominantly in that salaries and employee benefits line. If we move on, that's really the highlight of the financial information. So if we move on to page 8 and 9, this just gives more detail of that statement of net position, or I'm going to call it balance sheet. It's not the correct term in a governmental entity, but I'm going to call it a balance sheet so we kind of can understand that terminology a little better. So this gives more detail of that summarized information. So I'm not going to look at every line here, but just gives you some more details, as well as page 10 and 11. Give you that detail of the statement of activities or the total revenues and expenses, if you wanted to see the details compared from one year to the next. Keeping in mind, all of these numbers reflect those audit adjustments or corrected misstatements that Jenna talked about earlier. And then on page 12 starts the notes to the financial statements. Not a lot of changes in standards, as Jenna mentioned. There's wasn't any new standards that you adopted, so no new requirements for new disclosures. So similar disclosures as the prior year. You just flip through them quickly. I'm not going to focus on every page. Page 15 does give a little bit more breakdown of your capital assets. You can see this year under depreciable capital assets, under building and improvements, under the additions column of $350,000. You know, primarily, as Jenna mentioned earlier, the Teen Space costs. Page 16. It's good to know that you do have what's included in temporarily restricted net position or net assets, if you will. So you have $901,000 of net position that is temporarily restricted, predominantly related to the Horseheads Capital Fund. So they provide you with funds each year, but they've restricted it for capital. And then you also have some central library aid that usually carries over from one year to the next. You can see that the Steel Memorial Library Teen Space project that was restricted in the prior year is no longer restricted because you used it to complete that Teen Space. At the bottom of page 16, all the way through page 19, 20 actually, most of the rest of the financial statements, all the way through 21, all relates to the retirement plan, pension plan, and it's all information that we receive from the actuary, providing assumptions within that, and then just a lot of detail about the numbers. Required disclosure, probably not all that meaningful to most of us that are on the phone call, but it is required disclosures and gives you a lot more detail of the numbers related to, I'm sorry, doesn't include page 21, it's just through page 20, includes all of the required disclosures retired to those retirement plans, and all comes from the state's actuarial report. Then page 21, just specific to a governmental entity, just some reconciliations between fund balance position and net position, really just terminology issues again. And then on page 22, we all know that we're on a Zoom call virtually, working virtually. And since these were 12/31/2019 financial statements that were before the pandemic hit in January and announced as a pandemic in March, that putting the reader on notice that between the time of 12/31/19 and the time the financial statements are issued, that this subsequent event happened, and that that you're actively monitoring it, but aren't able to determine or predict the full effects it might have on your liquidity and financial results. So just a required disclosure when something happens after the 12/31/19 report date or financial statement date, or the date of your financial statements are through, whatever's happened from that date until the financial statements are issued has a required subsequent event. And then on page 24, you do submit a budget, obviously, that gets voted on, and this is just a required disclosure again of comparison of those budget numbers to your actual balances with the variances. The last couple of pages are related to the pension liability disclosures as well. So Jenna and I threw a lot of information at you, and I know you had these ahead of time. Was there any questions that we weren't able to address for you? Or would you like us to be done with this because it all just makes your head spin?
A little bit of that. But we are really solvent, and you didn't notice evidence on the part of the board or the staff or anything like that.
Correct. Just the significant deficiency, which we've talked about for many years. You know, you have taken kind of the approach that, you know, to have someone that could make all these entries themselves would cost you a lot more, probably for that position. And so you've got a cost benefit related to that. I can tell you that Holly was a pleasure to work with, and was very willing to learn. And I'm sure, you know, we threw a lot at her, and she stayed with it, and we appreciated her trying to learn, and I'm sure it'll be even better the next year. We did come on site. It was early enough. It was kind of after we came on, you know, there was a period of time where we closed our office, but then we were able to, when the state started opening up a little bit, we were able to come on site, which was very helpful. That would have been difficult to have that interaction with Holly, having it being her first year, and to scan the documents. You have a lot of documents that we have to go through. So Holly did a great job, and was very responsive and interested in learning the process, and continues to do. We have some outstanding emails going back and forth now, even on some items, operational items. So we appreciate that.
Yes, we're fortunate to have her. Thank you for all the extra work you have to do for us. I guess it's part of your work, but I know the actuary, I don't know what the actuary does, so I'm sure we're not going to hire one.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm not an actuary either, so I know bits and pieces, but I wouldn't want to have to do what they do.
Okay. Thank you very much for going over your report, you know, doing the report in the first place. We appreciate it.
Do we have to have a motion to accept the report?
Yes, we do. Can I get a motion?
I got it. I did it.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Second.
Oh, okay.
All right. Oliver, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have accepted the audit.
Great.
Very
Well, thank you.
much.
thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and have a happy Thanksgiving, whoever you're able to
As
be around.
well.
Thank
Good,
you.
healthy Thanksgiving.
Yes. Okay, bye-bye.
right,
Thank
bye-bye.
you, Jenna.
Bye-bye, Jenna.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So, on to correspondence.
We received a letter from the Chemung County Real Property Tax Office. We do this every year. They send me a letter that says, in preparation for tax billing, I am requesting the tax levy for the Chemung County Library District for the year 2021. What I do is I turn around and the same day send them a letter telling them how much we got from the budget vote, and they will send us a check sometime in January.
Great.
We
Okay.
received a letter from the, what's it called? The Public Library Foundation of Chemung County, otherwise known as the Horseheads Foundation. They sent us a check for $145,000 as their 2020 contribution to the district.
Wow.
Yeah, they do well on their investments. Very well. They did authorize the use of $2,000 in foundation funding to help with the production of the PPE that we did earlier this year. There is no, typically they give us a list of expenditures they've approved, but it doesn't have this. Rachel, I'll scan and send you a copy of the letter so you have it for your records.
Okay.
So again, it's just the 2020. It's the standard thing. We get it every year.
Thank you. Yeah. Great.
And
That's
anything
first
else?
time.
Oh,
Nope.
okay. So in that case, we're going to move on to this report. Me, I had to report, but I do have sexual harassment training.
Yes.
So I hope all of you had a chance to go and actually watch. If you were on the board last year, you may think that they were the exact same videos as last time.
Right. I did both sections, and it was similar. Yep. And but I printed off this form. Are we supposed to send this to you? It's a form that says, oh, no, this is a complaint form, I guess. Oh, form certifies that we participated in the training. That's what it says.
Right.
Did you know? Is that something you need?
Something we need, Ron, or saying you're certified?
Say it again.
Rachel,
The form
you're breaking up. All your words are not heard.
The form that you sent, we need to send that back to you.
Yes, we have to keep it here.
So if everyone could sign form after we complete the training event, you can either mail a copy or scan and email it to Ron once we are done.
Can we put your name down as the proctor?
Yes,
Okay.
because I will be proctoring.
Okay.
All right, do we have any questions to get started? Did everyone get to see those videos? Awesome. So I've got here the training basic harassment studies. So we're going to do the case study and then you find in your sexual training and how not to sexually harass.
We can't
Yeah.
hear you. You're still breaking up.
We're missing half of what you're saying. Does that mean anything to you? I don't know what your computer is like.
Yeah, it's tough to
We're
hear you.
missing half of the words.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try and speak less.
It's
Computer
not
is
helping.
not
It's not helping.
It's your connection.
It's your connection, I think. Yeah.
Now,
Say something else.
Now she's gone.
No, she's just her video went.
Nope, the whole thing went. Oh, there she is, Rachel. Yeah. Her name's there, but that's it.
Maybe she's trying to get another.
okay, did that work? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, huzzah. Where was the thing that I was looking? Okay, here we go. We're gonna do the sexual harassment. Okay. So we're gonna look at scenarios to help
can't.
behaviors.
No.
Can't hear you.
You're coming
No,
slow.
it's not working.
Can
Rachel,
you hear me?
Rachel, can you try turning off your video feed and see if that helps?
Okay,
Nope, still doing it.
No, it's still breaking up.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
That was fun.
Okay. Right. So let's look at a few scenarios that explain the behaviors that can cause sexual harassment. And these examples describe behavior in the workplace that will be dealt with by corrective action. Library staff, trustees, and volunteers should read through each case study, then review the questions and answers New York State, gain a better understanding of what constitutes sex. The following study review, libraries shall afford staff and
Rachel, we're still having trouble.
Yeah, maybe
Really?
one of us, I wonder if one of us could go to the YouTube videos and be able to read it for her. I mean, the case examples were there.
Anne, this was a separate document. I don't recall which email it was attached to, but there was a separate document with the case studies.
Yes, there was. There were two different documents, but
It was sent on November 2nd.
November 2nd, okay. Has anybody got another computer there to work with, or?
what, me or setting it off of, yeah. Can I?
We just can't hear you, Rachel, to answer anything.
Yeah, I just pulled up the document with the case studies, so
Oh, did you? Oh, great. Can you read it?
Yeah,
Can you
hang on
read them
just a-
aloud?
Yes,
no
hang
one
on
can
just
hear
a
me?
minute. I need to tell my husband something.
Okay.
Okay. So, sexual harassment case studies. And are you all hearing me?
Yes.
Good. Let's look at a few scenarios that help explain the behaviors that can constitute sexual harassment. These examples describe inappropriate behavior in the workplace that will be dealt with by corrective action, including disciplinary action. Library staff, trustees, and volunteers should read through each case study, then review the questions and answers provided by New York State to gain a better understanding of what constitutes sexual harassment. Following case study review, libraries shall afford staff and volunteers the opportunity to ask questions about the library's sexual harassment prevention policy, complaint form, or how the library addresses sexual harassment prevention. So let's go on to case study number 1, not taking no for an answer. Mary and Tim work together at the circulation desk. Tim has just been through a divorce. He drops comments on a few occasions that he is lonely and needs to find a new girlfriend. Mary and Tim have been friendly in the past and have had lunch together in local restaurants on many occasions. Tim Tim asks Mary to go on a date with him, dinner and a movie. Mary likes Tim and agrees to go out with him. She enjoys her date with Tim, but decides that a relationship is not a good idea. She thanks Tim for a nice time, but explains that she does not want to have a relationship with him. Tim waits 2 weeks and then starts pressuring Mary for more dates. She refuses, but Tim does not stop. He keeps asking her to go out with him. Alrighty, question number 1. When Tim first asked Mary for a date, this was sexual harassment. True or false?
False.
Anyone else?
False.
False.
Yeah, it's false.
That is correct. It is false because Tim's initial comments about looking for a girlfriend and asking Mary, a coworker, for a date are not sexual harassment. Even if Mary had turned him down for the first date, Tim had done nothing wrong by asking for a date and by making occasional comments that are not sexually explicit about his personal life. Question 2. Mary can't complain of sexual harassment because she went on a date with Tim. True or false?
False. True.
True.
She can't complain. Right. She went on a date.
All right. This is listed as being false. Being friendly, going on a date, or even having a prior relationship with a coworker does not mean that a coworker has a right to behave as Tim did toward Mary. She has to continue working with Tim, and he must respect her wishes and not engage in behavior that has now become inappropriate for the workplace. So I think what they're trying to say here is that she went on a date with Tim.
Yeah.
And, because he asked her out on a date, that wasn't harassment, but his continued behavior has gone past simply being friendly and going on a date. He's pestering her for more. And that is making her uncomfortable, and it's making her work environment uncomfortable because of that behavior.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, so the story continues. Mary complains to her circulation desk supervisor, and the supervisor reports her complaint to the library director. Tim is questioned about his behavior, and he apologizes. He is instructed by the director to stop. Tim stops for a while, but then starts leaving little gifts for Mary on her desk with accompanying love notes. The love notes are not overtly offensive, but Tim's behavior is starting to make Mary nervous, as she is afraid he may stalk her. Question 3. Tim's subsequent behavior with gifts and love notes is not sexual harassment because he has stopped asking Mary for dates as instructed. He is just being nice to Mary because he likes her. True or false?
False.
False.
And also creepy.
Yes, false. Mary should report Tim's behavior. She was entitled to have effective assistance in getting Tim to stop his inappropriate workplace behavior. Because Tim is returned to pestering Mary after being told to stop, he could be subject to serious disciplinary action for his behavior. All right, on to the next. Case study number 2, the assistant director with a poor attitude. Sharon is a new reference librarian at a mid-sized public library. Her assistant director, Paul, is friendly and helps her get familiar with her new job duties. After a few days, when no one else is around, Paul comes over to Sharon's desk to chat. He tells Sharon he is glad she joined the staff because, unlike the others, she is, quote, easy on the eyes, unquote. He then glances at her to check out her entire body. Sharon feels offended and demeaned that she and other women in her library are being viewed and evaluated based on looks by the assistant director. Question 1, because Paul did not tell Sharon that she is unattractive, he has not harassed her. True or false?
False.
False.
False. Paul has made a comment about the physical appearance of his employees. It does not matter that Paul supposedly paid Sharon a compliment. The discussion is still highly offensive to Sharon, as it would be to most reasonable persons in her situation. Question 2. Paul should be instructed to stop making these types of comments, but this is not a serious matter. True or false?
False.
False.
False. Paul's comments about the female employees are a serious matter and show his contempt for women in the workplace. Paul is required to model appropriate behavior and must not exhibit contempt for employees on the basis of sex or any protected characteristic. Sharon should not have to continue to work for someone she knows harbors such contempt for women, nor should the other employees have to work for such a supervisor. Sharon should file a complaint form with the library director and expect corrective action will be taken. Case study 3, Too Close for Comfort. I love these titles.
Yeah.
Alex has noticed that his new ILL department supervisor, Tina, leans extremely close to him when they are going over the reports that he prepares. She touches his hand or shoulder frequently as they discuss work. Alex tries to move away from her in these situations, but she doesn't seem to get the message. Question 1. Alex should just ignore Tina's behavior as it is not sufficiently severe or pervasive. True or false?
False.
False. If Alex is uncomfortable with Tina's behavior, he has options. If he feels comfortable doing so, he should tell Tina to please stop because her closeness and touching make him uncomfortable. Another option is to complain directly to his library director. Although this may not be sufficiently severe or pervasive to create an unlawful harassment situation, unless it was repeated by Tina after she was told to stop, there is no reason for Alex to be uncomfortable in the workplace. There is no valid reason for Tina to engage in this behavior. Before Alex gets around to complaining, Tina brushes up against his back in the computer lab before a meeting. He is now getting really annoyed, but still puts off doing anything about it. Later, Tina traps him in her office after they finish discussing work by standing between Alex and the door of her small office. Alex doesn't know what to do, so he moves past her to get out. As he does so, Tina slowly and purposefully runs her hand across his stomach and says, "That feels nice." Question 2. Tina's brushing up against Alex in the computer lab could just be inadvertent and does not give Alex any additional grounds to complain about Tina. True or false?
False.
False. Tina is now engaging in a pattern of escalating behavior. Given the pattern of her too close and touching behavior, it is unlikely that this was inadvertent. Even before being trapped in Tina's office, Alex should have reported all of the behaviors he'd experienced that had made him uncomfortable. Question 3. Tina touching Alex's stomach and making a comment is inappropriate, but is probably not unlawful harassment because it only happened once. True or false?
False.
False. Any type of sexual touching is very serious and does not need to be repeated to constitute sexual harassment, especially when the touch is accompanied by a specific comment that implies inappropriate behavior. Alex should immediately report it without waiting for it to be repeated. Tina could expect to receive formal discipline, including possible firing.
I thought this case was interesting because in the video, it was Keisha and Sarah. It was two women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's important to show that the harassment can happen. It's not going to be always a man harassing a woman.
Yeah.
It can be a woman harassing a man harassing man, woman harassing woman, whatever the identity or orientation, it can still happen, and it's harassment. So, all right, case study number 4, a distasteful director. The following scenario will explain many aspects of quid pro quo sexual harassment. Samantha is hoping for a promotion to circulation supervisor that she knows will become vacant soon. She knows that her library director, David, will be involved in deciding who will be promoted. She tells David that she will be applying for the position and that she is very interested in receiving the promotion. David says, "We'll see. There will be a lot of others interested in the position." A week later, Samantha and David travel together to a library conference, including an overnight hotel stay. Over dinner, David tells Samantha that he hopes he will be able to promote her because he has always really enjoyed working with her. He tells her that some other candidates look better on paper, but that she is the one he wants. He tells her that he can pull some strings to get her into the job, and Samantha thanks David. Later, David suggests that they go to his hotel room for, quote, drinks and relaxation, unquote. Samantha declines his offer. Question 1, David's behavior could be harassment of Samantha, true or false?
Absolutely.
True.
True to me.
True. David's behavior as Samantha's library director is inappropriate, and Samantha should feel free to report the behavior to her direct supervisor or library board president if it made her uncomfortable. It is irrelevant that this behavior occurs away from the workplace. Their relationship is that of director and staff, and all their interactions will tend to impact the workplace. David's behavior at this point may or may not constitute quid pro quo harassment. David has made no threat that if Samantha refuses his advance, he will handle her promotion any differently. However, his offer to pull some strings, followed by a request that he go to his hotel room for drinks and relaxation, might be considered potentially coercive. Certainly, if David persists in his advances, even if he never makes or carries out any threat or promise about job benefits, then this could create a hostile environment for Samantha, for which the library could be strictly liable because David is a management employee. After they return from the trip, Samantha asks David if he knows when the circulation desk supervisor job will be posted so that she can apply. He says that he is not sure, but there is still time for her to make it worth his while to pull strings for her. He then asks, how about going out to dinner this Friday and then coming over to my place? Question 2, David engaged in quid pro quo harassment, true or false?
True.
True.
True. It is now evident that David has offered to help Samantha with her promotion in exchange for an adult relationship or interaction. Samantha, who really wants the position, decides to go out with David. Almost every Friday, they go out at David's insistence and engage in adult interaction. Samantha does not want to be in a relationship with David and is only going out with him because she believes that he will otherwise block her promotion. Question 3, Samantha cannot complain of harassment because she voluntarily engaged in an adult relationship with David, true or false?
True.
False.
Oh, false.
True.
It's false because the adult interaction is unwelcome to Samantha. She is a victim of sexual harassment. Equally, if she had refused David's advances, she would still be a victim of sexual harassment. The offer to Samantha to trade job benefits for an adult relationship involving adult interaction by someone with authority over her in the workplace is quid pro quo sexual harassment, and the library is exposed to liability because of its director's actions. And now Samantha is promoted to circulation desk supervisor. Question 4, Samantha cannot complain of harassment because she got the job, so there's no discrimination against her, true or false?
False.
False. She can complain.
It is false. Samantha can be the recipient of sexual harassment whether or not she receives the benefit that was used in his inducement. Samantha breaks off the adult relationship with David. He then gives her a bad evaluation and she is removed from her new position at the end of the probationary period and returns to her old job. Question 5, it is now too late for Samantha to complain. Losing a place of favor due to the breakup of the voluntary relationship does not create a claim for sexual harassment, true or false?
False.
False.
False. It is true that the breakup of a relationship, if truly consensual and welcomed at the time, usually does not create a claim for sexual harassment. However, the relationship in this case was never welcomed by Samantha. David's behavior has at all times been inappropriate and a serious violation of the library's employment policy. As the person who abused the power and authority of a management position, David has engaged in sexual harassment. Case study number 5, an issue about appearances. Leonard works as a library page for a large academic library, mostly shelving and shifting books. He likes to wear jewelry, and his attire frequently includes earrings and necklaces. His circulation desk supervisor, Margaret, thinks it is weird that as a man, Leonard wears jewelry and wants to be a quote-unquote book pusher. She often makes sarcastic comments to him about his appearance and refers to him, jokingly, as her book boy. Leonard, who hopes to obtain a library science degree after graduating college so he can work as a reference librarian, applies from an open library clerk position that involves checking out materials to patrons. Margaret tells Leonard that if he wants that job, he had better look more quote unquote normal, or else wait for a promotion to cataloging where nobody will see him. Question 1. Leonard's circulation desk supervisor is correct to tell him wearing jewelry is inappropriate for front desk positions. True or false?
That's false.
False.
False. Leonard's jewelry is only an issue because Margaret considers it unusual for a man to wear such jewelry. Therefore, her comments to Leonard constitute sex stereotyping. Margaret also is suspicious that Leonard is gay, which she says she doesn't mind, but she thinks Leonard is secretive. She starts asking him questions about his private life, such as, are you married? Do you have a partner? Do you have kids? Leonard tries to respond politely no to all her questions, but is becoming annoyed. Margaret starts gossiping with Leonard's co-workers about his supposed sexual orientation. Question 2. Leonard is the recipient of harassment on the basis of sex and sexual orientation. True or false?
True. True.
True.
True. Leonard is harassed on the basis of sex because he is being harassed for failure to adhere to Margaret's sex stereotypes. Leonard is also harassed on the basis of his perceived sexual orientation. It does not matter whether or not Leonard is a gay man in order for him to have a claim for sexual orientation harassment. Leonard might also be considered a victim of harassment on the basis of gender identity, which is a form of sex and/or disability discrimination prohibited by the human rights law. Leonard should report Margaret's conduct, which is clearly a violation of the sexual harassment policy, to his library director. Leonard decides that he is not going to get a fair chance at the promotion under these circumstances, and he complains to his library director about Margaret's behavior. The director does an investigation and tells Margaret that Leonard's jewelry is not in violation of any workplace rule, that she is to consider him for the position without regard for his gender, and that she must stop making harassing comments, asking Leonard intrusive questions, and gossiping about his personal life. Margaret stops her comments, questions, and gossiping, but she then recommends a woman be promoted to the open position. The woman promoted has much less experience than Leonard and lacks his 2-year degree from a community college and bachelor's degree coursework. Question 3. Leonard has likely been the victim of discrimination on the basis of sex, sexual orientation, and/or retaliation. True or false?
True.
True.
True. We don't know Margaret's reason for not recommending Leonard for the promotion, but it is not looking good for Margaret. It appears that she is either biased against Leonard for the same reason she harassed him, or she is retaliating because he complained, or both. Leonard should speak further with the library director, and the circumstances of the promotion should be investigated. If it is found that Margaret had abused her supervisory authority by failing to fairly consider Leonard for the promotion, she should be subject to disciplinary action. This scenario shows too much S's. This scenario shows that sometimes more severe action is needed in response to harassment complaints in order to prevent discrimination in the future. And that is the end.
Oh,
Thank
you, Martha.
you, Martha.
Apparently, my microphone hates me.
I don't know, but I'm glad Martha was able to fill in for you.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions? Anything we just went over?
No, we just fill out this form and mail it in to Ron, I guess, and he can sign
Right.
it.
Or sign and email it in, or however we do that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how to sign it on the computer.
Oh, well, no, you and then scan it and email it.
Yeah.
It's a multi-stage process,
Oh.
but it
Yeah.
might just be easier to just.
If you have an iPhone and you go to the application
Yeah.
and go to make a new note, you can scan with your phone and then just email it. You just aim it at just take a picture of it and you can scan it right to them.
Oh, well, I use the US mail. I'd rather buy a stamp, I guess.
That's fair.
I can't do all the things my phone can do.
All right, but just, make sure to get your form back in however you want.
Okay. I would have to have a whole tutorial on how to do that.
Well, when we can get back together again, maybe we can
You can have it.
those. I would appreciate it too.
Righty.
5-minute class every time we have a board meeting.
I go to Owen if I need help. Oh dear.
Righty. Well, if there's no this meeting, we will move on to report.
Director's report?
Mhm.
Is that what you said? Okay.
We're still having trouble hearing you, Rachel.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Can't hear you, Ron.
Ron, you're muted. You're muted.
Oh.
You're muted.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
No.
Right, okay.
There must be something astrological happening right now.
Yeah.
It's a brain cramp.
I can tell you it's nothing astrological, honestly.
As you are aware, we did our workplace violence training through Zoom. I've received a letter from the Department of Labor stating that they visited us to provide the assistance correcting violations during the recent enforcement inspection. They had not acknowledged there was a training session provided in accordance with the standard and that approximately 50 Chemung County Library District employees participated. Basically, it's just a written acknowledgement that we did the training. And as far as I know, that means that the workplace violence complaint is all taken care of.
Good.
Okay.
We received a check from the Community Foundation in the amount of $3,650. It's a disbursement from the Cusick Family Fund. We get it every year. However, I think you need to make a motion to accept it because it's over $1,000.
All right. We accept.
I move that we, oh, who's raised their hands there? Phyllis?
Yes.
Yes. So I'll second it. You go ahead, Ann, if you want to.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I move that we accept the check for $3,650 from the Cusick Family Fund.
Yes, Pat Cusick was a board member.
Ah, nice.
Okay.
Okay, so you second it, Phyllis, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good.
In favor? Aye.
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 Okay, as far as the only other thing I have, we had projected to receive $166,000 from Central Book Aid and Central Library Development Aid. We haven't received the funds for this year yet. I spoke with Brian from Southern Tier Library System. He doesn't think we're going to see him until sometime next year. However, they will come with a 22.6% reduction. So instead of, say, 167,000, we'll be getting 129,000.
Oh, so it's gonna go down.
Yeah. New York State's cut all across the board.
Well, I can understand that.
So how big of taking, like, how bad is that going to be for us?
It's all Central Library Aid and Central Book Aid, so it doesn't truly impact us. Again, we can only spend what they give us.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Ron, how about the consent item for the personnel?
Oh,
action?
geez, thank you. I don't have my agenda in front of me.
Yeah, well,
Did
that's
somebody
next.
make a motion?
Well, I just made a motion.
I move that we approve the step increases.
I'll second.
Okay.
All
All in
aye.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone? Okay. Personnel action. On,
Committee reports are next.
right. In that case, executive committee report, you all got the
The written report, yes, yeah.
does anyone have any questions about those minutes? Okay. If there are no questions, then budget and finance meeting.
You got the paperwork, it's pretty self-explanatory, it was a very short meeting.
On to buildings and grounds.
Ron, can you update us on the bid for the kitchen?
Sure. The advertisement for bid was in the paper, I think it was last week. We put it in for 3 days. Today, we held a pre-bid conference for anybody who was looking to bid. No one showed up. I spoke with Bob Butcher. He seems to think because it's a reasonably straightforward job, he really didn't expect anybody to. But we're moving forward. I don't have the bid date in front of me. I'm sorry about that. I think it's going to be like December 2nd or something.
You haven't received any written bids?
No, they're not due. I think they're due December 2nd.
Okay.
So we're just
Is there a media source to get bids? Is it just the media, as no one seeing it in the paper?
We typically don't get more than 2 bids. I mean, if we get 3, that's a lot. And I know, for example, Bob is contacted on my restructures. Streeter knows about it. He also contacted another contractor. So, but they have, again, a couple weeks to get the bid in. So.
This is the kitchen. How about some of the kitchen designers, like Corning? What is the one in Corning that?
Corning Building Company?
Corning Building Supply. Yeah, we put it out. We followed the procedures we're supposed to. I'll give Bob a call and see if he wants to reach out to somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe some of them are the one in, there's one in Waverly.
Yeah, Rhinone.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one I meant.
Yep.
I can't remember names of.
I can reach out to them. They're a friend. Well, no, I can't because they're a friend of mine. So.
You're out of luck.
Reach out.
Someone else can. They're nice people.
Could you tell them that it's up for bid?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
That's all I got, Carol.
How about the desk relocation for the juvenile department? Was anything done on that?
No, he hasn't come back in, but to be honest with you, I can't be doing it at this point.
Yeah.
We're having the parking lot to do next year.
Okay.
I'm more concerned about the parking lot than I am moving a desk 30 feet.
Okay, good.
All right, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Carl and Ron. Personnel Committee, Penny.
Where is she?
Is Penny here?
She was.
No.
Penny.
No, she's not here?
No.
Okay. Well, never mind. I don't think we have anything for that. We have in ages. And Continuity Committee.
That's me, and I do have stuff, and I have a report that Rick Roberts prepared for me, and I'll just read it.
Okay.
The Ccld Board of Trustees election was held on November 3rd, 2020 in accordance with affecting legislation. The budget election was conducted by the Chemung County Board of Elections. As in the past, it was successful with 72% of the ballots in favor, the same as last year. The trustee election was conducted by the Board of Trustees with Sue Cook serving as election coordinator. The election went smoothly with no significant issues during the election. There were 50 total ballots submitted, of which 36 were absentee ballots, mail-in or drop-off ballots. Those affected are shown in the table below, which I will just read. And I need for district, the first district is Pat Silvernail, and she had 17 votes.
Woo!
The fifth district, Bonnie Chalet, had 6 votes.
Okay.
The sixth district is Jack Shamel, who had 18 votes. The eighth was Penny Appenzeller with 2 votes. The 10th was me, Phyllis Rogan, with 2 votes. The 13th was Mark Padgett with 2 votes. And the 14th was Martha Smith with 3 votes.
Yay!
The total cost of conducting the 2020 trustee election was $2,150 from a budget of $4,000. A detailed list of expenditures is shown in the table below. The table says election commissioner was $1,500. The election inspectors were $550. The ballot printing was $80. Miscellaneous supplies were $20 for a total of $2,150. The committee would like to extend its thanks to everyone who helped with the election, with special thanks to Sue Cook. In a difficult and confusing year, Sue kept on course, adjusting to ever-changing conditions to deliver a successful election. Respectfully submitted.
Okay.
Great. Good report.
Jack, did you want to talk here about the possibilities? Usually in this report, we also usually name the executive committee or board, the president, the vice president, the treasurer, but we didn't do that this year.
No, well, I submitted a suggestion for a bylaw amendment, but as I told you, and I've been trying since February to get an answer. 2 hours after I sent the email, I got an answer.
Oh, you did?
Well, that's irony for you.
And I promised I'll have something shortly, so we can do it at the December meeting, if we can elect officers before or after.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's do it that way then.
Okay. Is there anything else to report on that front?
Not for me.
Need to enter executive session. No one has anything executive to discuss.
I just, excuse me, I should have said one thing. I did get an email from Penny that when I sent you all out an email, it came back from Penny that said she was out of the office and wouldn't be available. So maybe that's why she's not here tonight.
Huh. Okay.
We have any business? Any new business?
Nope.
Righty. Well, in that case, do we have any public to express? No? All right. Adjourn? Can I get a
move we
second?
adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I'd say go home, be there.
Yeah,
Everybody send in your
yeah,
training.
Yeah.
Have a good
our
day.
awareness.
Have a good holiday, everyone.
Have a good holiday.
Stay covered and stay away from people.
Really.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.